the Eastern Conference wildcard race is pretty wild right now because the Ottawa Senators are making a charge. They've been one of the hottest teams in the league, even though they just lost 5-0 to the Chicago Blackhawks.
Slide that in, eh,
I'm gonna
Bruno?
slide that in real quick for all the
Uh,
Senators fans out there who can't stand me.
yeah.
But yeah, they're making a charge. Buffalo's right there, an exciting team. Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin. And then you have the old stalwarts of the East, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders, who are just always there. They always make the playoffs. They're always in the mix. They hold the two wildcard spots right now. The Islanders are in the first wildcard spot, although they've played 3 more games than Ottawa, than Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. And then Florida's in the mix too, Lepore.
Florida,
They're
man,
ahead
yeah.
of Ottawa and Buffalo, but they have also played more games as well. So with around 18 to 20 games to go here, who are going to be the 2 wildcard teams in the East? I need you to pick them right now.
It's tough, man. It's tough. My first instinct, and this is going to sound so lame, but my first instinct is when I look at the standings, I think it's going to stay the way it is. I think the Penguins and the Islanders are going to hold on. And that's not to take away from Florida, Buffalo, and Ottawa. Like, they've done a great job challenging for this thing, but Pittsburgh, based on like when you look at the games remaining and this and that, Pittsburgh's pretty solid in. Like, it would take something pretty disastrous for them to miss out. And then with the Islanders, like, people talk about the games at hand, but you got to win them. And Ottawa's got a fucking murderer's row of a schedule coming up, and who knows, maybe they could keep going on their hot streak. But I just think like the mindset of the Islanders, the position they're in, I just don't think they're gonna blow it. And they are an experienced group, to be fair, right? So yeah, I hate to be lame. I wish I could say I think this team's gonna go on a run and get in, but I think it's gonna be the Islanders and the Pens. Who you got, Bruno?
Lepore, I am sorry to tell you that I am just as lame as you. I think it's going to stay the same too. And you mentioned it with Ottawa, and I know they're one of the hottest teams in the league, and everyone's getting excited about the Senators, and they just got Jacob Chikrin, and Stützle's taking his game to the next level, and Giroux's been great, but they have an insanely difficult schedule down the stretch.
It's psychotic, yeah.
And not only is it a very tough schedule, they gotta rip off like a crazy winning percentage to get in, because they have all these teams ahead of them. And you're telling me with the murderer's row that they have, like, I can just go down the list of teams that Ottawa's playing coming up here for all the Senators fans that are getting excited: Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Colorado, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Boston, Tampa, New Jersey, Florida. And then towards the end of the season, the last 5 games, Carolina, Florida, Tampa, Carolina, and Buffalo. Every team that they are playing is either already locked into a playoff spot or fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah. And you're telling me that they're going to rip off like a 750 points percentage in that time? Like, that's basically what they have to do to get into the playoffs. So I think it's going to be tough. Even though the Islanders have played more games, they've been playing well. As you said, they have the experience. I trust that Crosby and Malkin are going to get the Penguins into the playoffs.
Exactly. I'm not betting against Sid.
So as fun as it is to root for the Sabres, who are such an exciting young team, as fun as it is to root for the Senators, and then you have Florida lurking there too, I think it's going to end exactly as you see it right now. I don't know if the Penguins are going to have the first wild card spot. Maybe they're going to flip-flop with the Islanders, but I think those are the 2 teams that get in, as lame and as boring as we sound right now.
Yeah, the thing is, though, it's funny, right? Because I look at it and I say, okay, I'm picking the Islanders and Penguins to hold on. So you'd think that means, well, I think they'd be the tougher out in the playoffs, but I don't feel that way. I really don't. I think if I'm Boston or Carolina, I don't want a fucking thing to do with the Ottawa Senators or the Buffalo Sabres. If Ottawa does get in, okay, this team since like the start of December, they're like a top 5 team in the league. So if they continue on that pace and make it to the playoffs, you're literally playing a team that's among the best teams in the league the second half of the season in the first round. And then you pile to that. They're a young group, a skilled group that'll have nothing to lose. that's a recipe for disaster, man. I would not want a fucking thing to do with the Senators, less so the Sabres. But what I'll say about the Sabres is that's not a building I want to go into in the playoffs. Weird things can happen when you have a crowd like that. So yeah, I think the Bruins and the Hurricanes are really hoping that our predictions are right and they end up with the Islanders and the Penguins.
And I'm sure Bruins fans are saying, like, if we have to play the Senators in the first round, big deal. But it gives me a lot of Leafs 2017 vibes. You have all these young guys who have never been to the playoffs before, who are just starting to find their rhythm in the NHL. Tim Stützle taking that leap in year 3. Like, that's a team that's playing with house money, man. If you're Carolina or Boston, as great as they have been this season, and it's the same thing with the Sabres. They're playing with house money too. Those are terrifying matchups because you could quickly find yourself in a track meet against both of those teams.
Yeah.
You could be going into a game thinking we're going to lock this down. It's going to be 2-1. Next thing you know, you look up at the scoreboard and it's 5-5 in the third period. And I don't want to be involved in anything like that.
Yeah, let's hope it comes to the end because it's tight. And as you mentioned, the Sabres and the Senators play each other the last game of the season, so that'll be awesome. But I'll ask you this, Bruno, and hockey's weird, man, because it seems like there's an obvious answer, but I don't think this is obvious. We play Tampa in the first round. The Leafs win. Boston plays Ottawa. Okay. Who are you cheering for in that series? Because it's easy to say, well, you're cheering for Ottawa because they're the 8th seed or whatever. But do you want to play a team that during the second half of the season was one of, if not the best teams in the league, and now has the confidence because they just beat the Bruins and that whole Battle of Ontario thing, and the Leafs finally get out of the first round? I'll say it as a Leafs fan, I would not want Ottawa. And if I really think about it, I mean, you can't really say, well, I'd rather have Ottawa than Boston based on who the Boston Bruins are this year. But I wouldn't be, I'll put it this way. Normally, if I was in the Leafs position, this is how I'll say it. If it was the Islanders, if Boston got the Islanders and the Islanders upset the Bruins and then we beat Tampa and we beat the Islanders in the second round, I'd be doing backflips. I'm not doing that for the Senators based on how they got in and the type of team they are.
Yeah, with all the history between the Leafs and Senators, and I know the Leafs have owned the Senators in the playoffs, but that was a long time ago. Before, I want nothing to do with Ottawa in the second round. Like, also because there would now be an immense amount of pressure on the Leafs at that point. Like, if the Leafs get through the Lightning and then they face Boston in the second round, everyone's like, well, Boston's having the greatest season of all time. They're so deep, no one can beat them. There's no pressure on the Leafs. If that suddenly becomes Ottawa, all the pressure goes back on Toronto. You're the better team now. You finally won a playoff series. You're playing a team that's never been here before. You are expected to win this series, and it seems like those are the times that the Leafs typically don't play their best hockey, and I would be extremely terrified.
And again, going into that second round on the opposite side of what you just said, Ottawa's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, playing with house money again.
They're there. No one would expect them to. I mean, the betting market would be heavy on the Leafs. Leafs have home ice advantage again. It was like the Leafs finally got their break, right? And I mean, you'd be so scared just to fuck it up. So yeah, Sens, just do us a favor and don't make it at all. I'm semi-rooting for you. It wouldn't be too bad to see some playoff hockey in the city. Like I said, there's a buzz. But as a selfish Leaf fan, I would not want to play them in any circumstances. So,
Lepore, we all know you have a soft spot in your heart for the Ottawa Senators.
I don't, though.
You do. You do a little bit. Yeah, but no, you said it, man. I want nothing to do with Ottawa in the playoffs. And, people have been coming at me recently being like, Bruno, you said the Senators are overrated and they stink and all that. Listen, everybody. I said at the beginning of the season they were overrated, which I believe they were because I think a lot of people thought that they were going to get into the playoffs. I said the upside for that team, the ceiling for that team would be competing for a wild card spot. And that's exactly the position they find themselves in now. But they also have a murderer's row coming up and have to pull off an insane winning percentage to make the playoffs. If they pull it off, Lepore, I will be the first one to sit here and applaud that team. Bravo. If they can get through the murderer's row they have coming up and, I don't know, go like 14-5, or I don't know how many games they have left. But if they can pull off a crazy record like that against all these great teams, that are either already in the playoffs or fighting for a playoff spot, that's going to be fantastic. I just don't think they have quite enough to get it done.